Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the dceu Daily. Remember, you can tag me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad, making suggestions for videos, asking me questions, suggesting articles for me to read out. But on today's dceu Daily, my blood is boiling. By now, I think we've all seen Christopher Nolan's reaction to Warner Media's decision to stream their slate of movies in 2021 on HBO Max as well as on movie theatres. What he said is disrespectful, disgusting, and from the moment I saw it, my blood's been boiling. And if you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen my reaction. Because there's one thing to say, I disagree with you, but the way he's done it is despicable. He's gone to the media on purpose. He knows the media are angry with Warner Media ever since Fandom. He knows he's using them to put out his message. He's trying to put pressure on them and other studios not to do the same thing. Basically, if you want to work with Christopher Nolan in the future, you can't stream your cinematic releases on streaming at the same time. If you're Eon Productions, who make the Bond movies, and you want him, as we think they do want him to do, the next Bond trilogy, you can't go near streaming. You've got to purely release your movies in movie theatres. And let's not forget, Warner Media, upon his wishes, made Tenet 100% theatrical release, and they made a loss domestically because of this. The movie made 500, 600 globally. Not bad. But Warner Media invested a lot of money into that film. And they didn't get a say in where it was shown. They didn't make a profit because of him. Because of their respect for him. And what does he do? He comes out publicly, and does and says this. In a moment, I'm going to read the article from The Hollywood Reporter and his toxic statement, because it is toxic. I've always believed that Christopher Nolan, ever since I started following his career, was an ethical, intelligent filmmaker. But unfortunately, I no longer think this. It's very interesting, isn't it? Because this is the man supporting the old regime of Warner Brothers, saying how good they were, how brilliant they were. And now he's saying something else. We're going to read the statement very shortly. This is a man who left Zack Snyder to fend for himself during Batman vs. Superman. He brought him in. He said, this is your baby. Do what you want with it. He protected him with his life for Man of Steel. Then he walked away. If Christopher Nolan had remained on the BVS set, what happened would never have happened. If he remained on the Justice League set, Zack would have released his Justice League when he was supposed to release it. But he left. How many times since the shit show happened, Justice League happened, and how Zack was treated happened? How many times have you heard Christopher Nolan come out to defend Zack Snyder and say, this is disgusting and despicable what the studio, the old regime, did to Zack Snyder? No, you haven't heard it. Now, I said it on this very channel, and you've said it many times, that he can't. He works with them. He can't say anything. We respected that. But now, when it suits him, when it's about his morals and what he holds dear, he's happy to throw Warner Media under the bus. But where were you, Chris? Where were you when Zack Snyder and his fans and DC fans needed you to speak up for our movement to get Zack Snyder's Justice League released? Where were you? But now you're all over the place. Make no mistake, his comments are despicable. He's a great filmmaker, and he's probably a very nice man, no question. But I just don't agree with you, Chris. So let's go into this. And for you, those of you saying, what's this got to do with the dceu? Fucking everything. This man has made DC movies. He co-wrote the first dceu movie, Man of Steel, and his production company was part of the production. This has everything to do with the dceu. Warner Media own DC characters and DC comics. It matters. It really matters. Right. Christopher Nolan rips HBO Max as the worst streaming service denounces Warner Brothers' plan. Right. And we know that Hollywood Reporter... Look, the media are fucking loving this. I must admit I was quite naive when they announced this. I just thought that everyone would get with the programme. I don't know why. Maybe they thought, you know, the studio's got to make fucking money and they're not a charity organisation. To many insiders, Warner Media's blindsiding of talent and their reps with news that it would send 17 films directly to HBO Max in 2021 felt like an insult. Again, they leave out the portion where, yeah, they're sending them to HBO Max, but they're sending them to every movie theatre domestically and globally that are open. This hurts no one. And they probably blindsided them because they knew the reaction. So they just did it. Because Warner Media had no choice. Now, did Warner Media partially make this decision to kind of prop up HBO Max? Yes, probably. Because I've said it before, HBO Max shouldn't have been launched in the year of the pandemic. As soon as the pandemic happened, they should have sidelined it. Because of the pandemic, this could never have been the streaming service that they had planned. They didn't even have a big tentpole original series or original movie to launch on the platform, like Green Lantern, like Zack Snyder's Justice League. They should have waited another year. But funnily enough, ever since they've announced this, they're doing very well, thank you very much. And Warner, you know, HBO Max have always been doing well. It just hasn't been breaking any records. Anyway, for many in the movie business, producers, directors, stars, and their representatives, December the 3rd, 2020 is a day that will live in infamy. Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed. This is Christopher Nolan. Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service. Filmmaker Christopher Nolan, that's what he said. That's what he said. First of all, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. But they're not just working for I'm not going to say it's the world's worst streaming service. I think it's one of the best. I think it's a really well set up streaming service. Are there kinks? Yes. But they're not. Because every movie is still going to be released in every movie theatre that is open. Yes, that's a fact, Chris. And you and the Hollywood Reporter and other journalists who are butthurt over this are leaving that out. And do you think the public are going to support you? Do you think we give a shit about your morals? It is not viable just to delay movies for another 18 months until movie theatres are viable and can make $1 billion globally again. It is not financially viable. I look forward to seeing Christopher Nolan's non-profit making studio. I can't fucking wait. Where is it, Chris? Of course not. You're not going to do that, are you? It's easy to talk when you're not the one sitting there with a backlog of movies to release. Christopher Nolan, whose relationship with Warner dates back to Insomnia in 2002, said in a statement to the Hollywood Reporter, yeah, he's using you to get his little message out. And you're fucking loving this, aren't you? Added Nolan, Warner Brothers had an incredible machine for getting a filmmaker's work out everywhere, both in theatres and in the home. And they are dismantling it as we speak. They don't even understand what they're losing. Their decision makes no economic sense. Their decision doesn't make any economic sense, right? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Did it make more economic sense, Chris, to leave the films in a can, in a warehouse? Yeah? They're not a charitable organisation anyway. And even the most casual Wall Street investor can see the difference between disruption and dysfunction. No, Chris, they can't. Because no Wall Street investor is going to be interested in a company or a studio with their product being made and being shelved. You're not making any sense. On that now infamous morning, Ann Sarnoff, whose ungainly title is Chair and CEO of Warner Media Studios Networks Group and Warner Brothers Film Studio Chairman Toby Emmerich, called the heads of the major agencies to drop a bombshell. Warner's was about to smash the theatrical window. And in fact, as I keep on saying, they haven't smashed anything. It's only domestically that you can see films on HBO Max as well as them being released everywhere, including America, across the world, on movie theatres. They've done nothing. Now, the thinking here by movie theatre Nazis, as I call them, like Nolan, is that more people sit at home and watch these movies in America than go out. If the movie's good enough, they will stream it and they will go and watch it, because I know movie viewing people. I know the habits because I've studied them. Sweeping its entire 17-picture 2021 film slate onto its faltering HBO Max streaming service. Wow. Debuting them on the same day they would open in whatever theatres could admit customers. Really, Warner Media should just sue the Hollywood Reporter? How is it a faltering streaming service? Tell me that. How? Because it's not breaking records, because it's not competing with Disney in a year of a pandemic, where people could have only just been able to go back to produce and film things? Please tell me. Surprisingly to some in the industry, sources say the idea was the brainchild of Warner Brothers COO Carolyn Blackwood, who, looking at a relatively weak 2021 slate, saw an opportunity to avoid the humiliation of potentially bad grosses while currying favour with streamer-obsessed higher-ups. It's not a weak slate. It's not a weak slate. Look at that slate again. That is not a weak slate. Kong versus Godzilla, The Matrix 4. Really? The instant response in Hollywood was outrage and a massive girdling for battle. Well, actually, the reaction of outrage was from you, the journalist, because your power is relenting. It's dissolving, and you don't like it. Warners have made a grave mistake, says one top talent agent. Never have this many people been this upset with one entity. Like others, he had spent much of the day dealing with calls from stunned and angry clients, and that swooshing sound you hear. It's the lawyers stropping their blades as they prepare for battle. What battle? What battle? What battle can you do against this studio? No matter what they do, what they say, this is going to happen. Do you think Jason Keeler and Ann Sarnoff and Blackwood didn't know this was the reaction they were going to get? They're ready. They're going to do this. Whatever you do and whatever you say and whatever manipulations you try in front of the public eye, it isn't going to work. That Warner's was self-dealing in shifting these movies to its own streamer, perhaps, or that the company acted in bad faith. Some talent reps say the decision affects not only profit participants, but others who have worked on films, as the move might affect residual payments. It's always about money, isn't it? They expect and hope that the guilds will get involved. The Writers Guild of America declined to comment. You know why it declined to comment? Because it isn't going to go against Warner Media, is it now? Warner's move poses big, maybe even existential questions. How do theatres survive this supposedly one time? Hang on, right? Again, movie theatres get the films. They get the films globally. We can't watch it on HBO Max globally. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Movie theatres are in trouble. They've been in trouble for 20 years. And then a pandemic underlined the problems that they face, right? Warner Media want to make money. Fucking hell. I don't get it. What do you want them to do? To run like a charity? Look, excused by the pandemic move. Hang on, let's go back. One time excused by the pandemic move. Genies are hard to put back in the bottle, and no one believes Warner's intended this to be temporary. Anyway, what damage will be done to exhibitors by training customers that if they sit on their sofas, the biggest movies will come? I know, it's despicable, isn't it? By training customers that if they sit on their sofas, the biggest movies will come. And will Warner's face serious backlash from important producers, filmmakers, guilds, and on-screen talent? Warner's was the quintessentially talent-friendly, filmmaker-friendly studio, says one agent. Now Warner's isn't in the first place, second place, or third place you want to go. Right, first of all, you do understand that Disney are going to do the same thing, don't you? You do get that. Because Disney have got two decisions. And on Thursday, they release their slates for next year. So it's going to be very interesting what they have to say. And if they do this as well. Because if they do, it won't just be Warner Media. I think Warner Media knows damn well that Disney are going to do the same thing. Then they have to go after both studios, which is going to be very difficult. But we'll see what happens there. But again, I don't really understand the outrage, to be honest with you. What did you want them to do? Shelve their films? Not make as much money? I don't get it. So they want to prop up HBO Max. So what? So what? And this doesn't change anything. This doesn't change the fact that Warner Media is one of the few large studios that allows their creative talents to make the art that they want to make. That's not going to change. So again, I don't understand the outrage. Many in Hollywood think Warner Media opted for this drastic move to play to streaming infatuated Wall Street and redo the botched launch of HBO Max. They're still going on about HBO Max like it's a flop, which has netted a dismal 8.6 million activated subscribers so far. It's dismal because it's not breaking records, but it's still very healthy. Anyway, but one prominent agent notes that the top executives of Warner Media and its parent, AT&T CEO John Stankey, Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar, and of course Sarnoff, don't understand the movie business and they don't understand talent relations. No, let me tell you what this means. This means that Jason Kilar and Ann Sarnoff are not intimidated by the media or the talents. Yeah, they need talents to be on side. But at the end of the day, there will always be younger talents and new talents making new and fresh pieces of art. They don't need these archaic people who can't see the future. And this is the future. I love the idea of things being released in the movie theatre first, then streaming, Blu-ray, 4K. It's a beautiful system. But the model has been changed, whether you like it or not. This is the future. And you ranting and raving and crying and drinking your salty tears isn't going to change anything. While Kilar pays what is seen as lip service to movies, industry veterans say Warner is sacrificing a huge profit that comes from selling movies in multiple formats on multiple platforms around the world. Right. Think about this. They're still going to be doing that. The film comes out on streaming, HBO Max, and movie theatres around the world. They can then put it on pay-per-view. They then wait a few months and sell them on hard copy and put them on streaming services. Nothing's changed, everyone. Nothing's changed, not really. Even before Warner's made its play, there was grumbling among agents that Sarnoff, who has been on the job for more than a year, had yet to get acquainted with the key players on the film side or make much of an impression at all. That's why many are focusing their wrath on Emmerich. Toby's passion is only about managing up, says one agent who represents major Warner's talent. It is fucking beautiful to see all these people. You know, Jason Kilar and Ann Sarnoff and even Emmerich are really, they're winding these people up because they've got the guts to change things. This is what's going to happen. And as I say, no matter how many times you go public, because there'll be a few idiots in the public who back all this, who say, yeah, what's going to happen now? Well, I can tell you what's going to happen. Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. This model is coming, whether you like it or not, because every studio needs to make money. So where are these people who are pissed off with Warner Media and Disney going to go? Universal, who are supposed to have a temporary streaming service while the pandemic's going on, where are they going to go? Amazon? Where's Christopher Nolan going to go? Where's he going to go? What studio is going to allow him to dictate to them how they release their movies? Who? Name me one. I think there might be someone out there. Maybe Eon, who make the Bond movies. Maybe that's his best bet because they've stuck to their guns and they haven't released No Time to Die on streaming, although they did put the feelers out, allegedly. By the weekend following the announcement, Eric was calling important filmmakers with projects set for 2022 to assure them that their movies wouldn't be dropped on the streaming service without warning, as if anyone wouldn't believe he had any control over the situation, says one producer with a major Warner property. Toby probably had a really bad weekend. Not that I feel bad for him, says one agent. It's funny how all these people haven't got the guts. They're making all these big statements. Credit to Nolan for coming out and speaking his truth. By the way, I don't agree with him. And calling HBO Max the worst streaming platform isn't a very nice thing to do, is it? But he wanted to make an effect. I didn't think Christopher Nolan would come out and speak out like this. I didn't. I know why he's doing it. He thinks it's going to make a difference. And look, it's something to talk about. But apart from that, I'm sorry, Chris, it doesn't change anything. And of course, expect Warner Media to react later on today. According to another source, Emmerich tried to soothe in the Heights director John M. Shue by pointing out that the movie was still getting a global theatrical release. But industry insiders say the studio's pretending that pirates won't pounce as soon as the films are streaming on HBO Max. Right, again, because pirates haven't been pouncing for the last 50 years. Every cinematic release you see is available on Pirate straight away. This makes no difference. Will they pirate things on HBO Max? Yes, but it doesn't change anything. The points they're making have no substance, no legitimacy, no logic. As soon as one does, there's an excellent version of the movie everywhere immediately, notes one industry veteran. Yeah, there has been that already. As soon as films come out in China and Japan, you can get crystal clear bootleg copies. We all know that. Question is, they know it as well, but they're still going to tell their lies. Anyway, Warner Media's decision to attack without warning, may be understandable given the blow, but that was foreseeable. But too many insiders blindsiding talent and their reps seem like an insult. Sources say studio president Courtney Valenti was the only Warner exec who dared to speak up about the need to reach out to key creative partners, but she was quickly hushed. What's the point of going to their partners when they know what the reaction's going to be? It doesn't matter if they blindsided them or not, because Jason Kilar and Ann Sarnoff and Blackwood knew what was going to happen. They would say, no. We want the audience to see on a bigger screen. We want to make as much money as possible, blah, 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 blah. But you're not going to make as much money as possible because of the pandemic, right? For one reason or the other, America has got the worst infection and death rate in the world. And you are looking at an 18-month window until theatres are viable again, even with the vaccine coming. Because the vaccine's got to be rolled out and it's going to take time. But these people are just looking at their own truths and their own points of view. They don't care about you and me, the fans, the consumer. They care about themselves. Their bubble's been burst by Warner Media, Jason Kilar, Ann Sarnoff and Blackwood. And they don't like it. They don't like it because they're daring to come into Hollywood and change things. Now, it's got to be said, from the moment they brought in Sarnoff and they brought in Kilar, these are people with a history in successful streaming platforms. You've got Ann Sarnoff, who came from BritBox, the one in America. And you've got, on BBC America, you've got Kilar, who came from Hulu, did a great job on Hulu. So their focus is on streaming. There's no question about that. It's about streaming. They know that the real money now is there to be made. And they're looking at the pandemic as an advantage because these are business people. They're not filmmakers. These are business people who want to make the utmost profit for the company. And that's what they're going to do. And that's all the shareholders care about. This won't stop the studio making great movies. It doesn't change anything. Anyway, much of this outrage will surely be mitigated if Warner Media is prepared to write big checks to all the profit participants in films that have been moved. Yes, it's a critical time for them at the highest level to make this right with the talent, says one rep. But agent says the guidance that's been provided so far suggests that the company isn't planning to offer what is now called Wonder Woman money. In honor of the rich deal, the studio gave profit participants in Wonder Woman 1984 when that film was moved to HBO Max. Warner Media had to shovel tens of millions at Gal Gadot and other key players because the company wants a third in the series. But that sets the bar high, sources say. Even Suicide Squad director James Gunn, who is platform, I think he's anti-platform, by the way. I think that's what that means. Agnostic, was not pleased when the studio followed its shocking announcement by floating a lackluster formula for compensating him and other profit participants in the film. But he's still going to make Peacemaker for HBO Max. I'm sure he's outraged. At minimum, Warner Media has opened the door to arduous negotiations with major agencies over compensation. They knew this, and what they're going to make outweighs what they're going to pay out. You're only reporting on this because you're so butthurt and you think you can pressure the studio. You have no influence anymore, and it's killing you. For multiple profit participants in 17 movies, did the Warner's numbers crunchers in projecting the cost of premiering its entire 2021 slate on HBO Max factor in the cost of widely anticipated legal challenges? Nah, Warner Media, a company, a multi-trillion-dollar company, didn't take that into account. No, but you, a journalist, know more than them. My God. Industry insiders believe Warner Media may have opened itself up to those, especially as it is selling the movies to its own streaming platform, when none of the profit participants has had a chance to figure out what Apple or Netflix might have paid for the opportunity to stream their projects day and date. Allegations of self-dealing are almost sure to follow. Hang on. You thought that they had their own platform, but they were going to sell them to Apple and Netflix. Hello, Mr. Potato Head, are you in there? Do you really think any company in any industry would do that? No. Many think Legendary will be the first to file a legal challenge, well, you hope. The company fired off a previous lawyer letter that Netflix offered something north of $225 million for the rights to Godzilla vs. Kong, which has seen its release date moved from March 2020 to November to May 2021. Though Legendary financed 75% of the movie, Warner's had the power to block the sale and did. Legendary asked whether the studio would then give it a deal to stream the movie on HBO Max and got no clear answer until its executives woke up one December morning to find that the movie was going day and date on the service without the benefit of negotiation. Legendary's even more expensive picture Dune is getting the same treatment. The other companies that finance Warner Movies, Village Roadshow and Bron, are also said to be aggrieved parties that might end up going to court and losing. That's the problem. Courts are expensive. Legal battles are expensive. So Warner Media are going to, listen to me. Before I go further, Warner Media are going to pay these people. They're going to pay these people. They know they have to pay these people. It's going to happen. Just like they did with Wonder Woman 84. Yeah, they're trying to say it's because they wanted a third Wonder Woman movie. That's not the reason. It's because Wonder Woman 84 is happening this month. That's why. Listen to me and not them. These people are talking utter bollocks. And there's the talent. Dune director Denis Villeneuve is said to be among those who felt mostly strongly that a traditional big screen release was essential for his film. Why? Tell me why. Tell me why, Dennis. Tell me why. I don't understand. Your film's still going to be in theatres. What's your fucking problem? Who, along with Lin-Manuel Miranda, went through an intense courtship with multiple suitors for In Heights, who had turned down a huge Netflix offer for Crazy Rich Asians because he cherishes the communal theatrical experience, told an associate. He was shell-shocked after being informed of the Warner decision. Sources say Warner Media insiders have been hoping that Disney will follow its lead and shift its slate to streaming, but Disney, which had $7 billion grossing movies last year, isn't about to do that. Right, remember this? Isn't about to do that. Isn't about to do that. You don't know. They're going to make an announcement on Thursday and we will see. And if they don't do that, they're not going to make any money. But the truth is, next year, Disney Plus haven't got really big projects going out anyway. But maybe they're willing to take a loss. Maybe they're not willing to upset the media and the rest of the industry. But we will see. It's very interesting. I can't wait till Thursday. But it will be, after him saying that, after this journalist saying that, it'd be funny if Disney Plus, in fact, do exactly the same thing as Warner Media have done. I think they will. They even made a little announcement a few months ago that they're focusing on their streaming. What do you think that means? So anyway, instead it's moving some films to streaming, as it did with Hamilton and Artemis Fowl, like Lightly Cruella and more. But an agent notes that the way Disney has handled the shift stands in stark contrast to what Warner's has done. They can't help shilling Disney, can they? They can't. The shift stands in stark contrast to what Warner's has done. They didn't do a unilateral thing, he says, adding the studio executives made preemptive calls to talent and their reps that helped smooth the process. Yeah, because the films they were sticking on there weren't going to make that much money anyway. So nobody cared. And Disney paid those people. As Warner Media will pay those people. But we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what Disney are going to do yet. So you're talking about past tense. I think Disney are going to make the very same decision. It's going to be interesting. Is the flag that Warner Media are getting worth it? I think it is. I don't think Warner Media care, because Jason Keeler has been very clever being on social media, talking to us, the customers, retweeting us, liking us. We're on his side. We don't care that you're butthurt, that things are changing. All we know is we are getting a full WB movie slate next year. And if you're in America, you can see it at home. Nobody cares. It's an improvement of a service. And if you don't want to work in that remit, fuck off. Fuck off. Go and work somewhere else, right, who wants you dictating to how they sell their product. Because we at Warner Media don't give a shit. Don't give a shit what you think. You see, publicly, ever since the announcement of the release of the Snyder Cut, Warner Media have made it very clear that the only opinion that they care about is the public's. And the public's, 75% of the public are not going to give a shit about Nolan or the Hollywood Reporter or the rest of Hollywood crying about this decision. It's also worth noting that Disney Plus, which has dwarfed HBO Max in terms of subscribers, of course, has gotten a lot of mileage out of one original hit, The Mandalorian, which is based on an iconic movie property. There's never been a full-fledged franchise blockbuster launched on a streaming service. Observers and executives at Warner's competitors, it starts with theatres and it starts with opening weekend. And so far, those blockbusters have been the ones that generated merchandise sales and theme park attractions. Most of Disney's theme parks have been mostly closed this year, by the way. He's not going to add that. Warner's doesn't have theme parks, but it has reaped big benefits from movies that almost certainly would have been dropped onto HBO Max had the option been available at the time. Consider last year's mega hit Joker film. Studio chief Emmerich was not a fan of the project. It was defended by the worldwide marketing president Blair Rich, who was recently pushed out. Emmerich lowballed on the budget to discourage director Todd Phillips from making it. Again, where are you getting this from? You're literally making this up. And I tell you what, does Joker look like a film that's got a really small shrink budget? No. This film happened. Now, of course, there's disagreements in studios. There's disagreements in life. Jesus Christ, I live with my dad and we argue all the time. What's it mean if I see a report on the Hollywood Reporter, is everyone going to say, oh my God, he argued with his dad? This doesn't matter a jot. But these people are so butthurt. It's like an election when they try and kind of dirt the other side they don't support. They don't support this because Warner Media and Jason Keeler have smashed the relevance of movie media, of journalists, of critics, and they're trying to fight back. But it's like a mouse whispering to a giant. It's not going to work. And when the filmmaker persisted, sold off half the movie, Joker then became a cultural phenomenon that grossed more than $1 billion worldwide, was honoured with 11 Academy Award nominations and the Oscar for Joaquin Phoenix. Would any of that have happened had Joker been dropped onto HBO Max? Yes. Maybe it wouldn't have made $1 billion in theatres, but they would have maximised on HBO Max subscribers, so they still, as a company, would have made the same money. Actually, maybe more. See, their points are dwindling. As I say, they don't have any, it doesn't make any sense. There's no logic to what they're saying. They're like a bunch of children kicking out. Despite their assertions to the contrary, many industry insiders believe that neither AT&T chairman Stankey nor Keeler has much interest in the legacy movie business. Keeler has said this move was made for the fans and told CNBC, if we start our days and end our days focused on the customer, we're going to lead the industry. That brings to mind a line in the new Netflix movie, Mank, a warning delivered to the upstart Orson Welles by grizzled veteran Herman Mankiewicz. You, my friend, are an outsider, a self-anointed saviour. Hype and hate. They're just waiting to loathe you. Let me tell you why he's quoting this, really. It's not about us. You see, that quote's trying to stir us up to hate Keeler. We're not going to turn against Keeler, right? We know that. But they're trying. They're trying their best. What it really means is you are an outsider. You and Ann Sarnoff are outsiders. You don't come from Hollywood. You are not like us. How dare you change what's going on? How dare you create this paradigm shift? How dare you make sure we can't get a grain of the sand as well? I told you, entertainment journalism is angry, and it will take any advantage to try and disrupt the leadership at Warner Media that's making big changes in this industry, and it's not going to work. It also leaves out a long-standing Hollywood maxim: content is king, and content comes from artists who aren't always motivated purely by money. So as an agent who represents extremely important talent with business at Warner's, you had a decades-long legacy as being known as the most talent-friendly studio. Now you've gone from that to a studio that is starburst colours lit up a sign that says, we don't give a fuck about talent. Actually, that's not true. That's the end of the article. Because, yes, content is king. It is king. So to that end, what good as a talent is your content on the fucking shelf for the next 18 months? So even that, you're saying, makes no sense. This is not about disrespecting talent. This is about making money. This is about making a shift in the paradigm, especially with this pandemic. But movie theatres have been making less and less profits. Mainly that's because Hollywood don't make a variety of movie anymore, which I've complained about on this very, very channel for many, many years. Things are changing. This article says everything. Christopher Nolan's statement says everything. There's a lot of upset and angry people. Because one thing about Hollywood is you've all got to be good little boys, good little girls, and follow the rules, or we will attempt to destroy you. The problem is, for these people now, and for someone like Christopher Nolan, Jason Kilar and Sarnoff and Blackwood, and Toby Emmerich hold the keys to one of the biggest entities in Hollywood history. And they're going to do whatever they want with it. And there's nothing they can do with it. This makes my blood boil, as you can see. Because it's a bunch of people not looking at the bigger picture, shouting and screaming and scratching, trying to make a dent into them. What you saw from that article is every attempt to destabilise Warner Media, Kilar, Sarnoff and Blackwood and Emmerich. It hasn't done anything. It hasn't done anything because in America you'll still wake up on Christmas Day and you will see on Christmas Day you will see Wonder Woman 84 and you will not give a shit. What Warner Media and Sarnoff and Jason Kilar have done is make the right decision for their company, for their bottom line and for their consumer. And if certain creatives are not happy, they can fuck off. And we will bring new ones into Warner Media. That's the mentality. This is the paradigm shift. Either get with the program or go away. Calming down, let's talk about some DC content. Let's talk about something more positive. Right. Basically, the Illuminati have some information on some character descriptions for James Gunn's Peacemaker. So let's take a look at this. Leota Adebayo is described as smart, driven, full-figured and capable, but with her fair share of insecurities, a newcomer who isn't treated well by others. The character will be a series regular. Augie Smith is the father of Christopher Smith. This character is described as a strongly opinionated, vulgar, small-town racist who is powerful and cunning. The character will be a series regular, though the contract is only a one-season deal. But Peacemaker is only one season. Unless they're doing more. Could this one-season deal indicate possibly of the future seasons of Peacemaker? Yeah, it could. Or it could mean a dozen different things. Right now, let's not get our hopes up for future seasons of the series. Peacemaker, a story of father and son. Another interesting facet of Augie's character is how close he falls in line with Peacemaker's father in the comics, Wolfgang Schmidt. Schmidt was a Nazi who ran a concentration camp during the war, something that Christopher witnessed in his youth in 1955. Wolfgang committed suicide after his crimes he had committed came to light, though his story would not end with his death. After passing away, vision of Wolfgang came to Peacemaker many times, pushing him to more unhinged, violent and merciless state. His relationship with his father's ghost and the trauma he experienced at a young age would come to define Christopher Christopher Smith, paving the way for his evolution into Peacemaker. Given these names aren't simply code names or placeholders, James Gunn has clearly taken some creative liberties with the character, i.e. name change, the apparent backstory alterations, but the core concepts remain intact. Peacemaker's dad in the DCEU is a powerful racist with a strong influence on the life and story of his son. And of course, all they're interested in these days is racism and Nazism and, sexism, all the isms. That's all they're interested in. That's why we're in part of the film industry now, by the way, that lacks any entertainment. But anyway, it sounds interesting and compelling, and I am excited about the project. While the following theory is purely speculation, I can't help but wonder if Peacemaker might fall for a Leota Adiboa, leading to conflict between father and son. Additionally, while it isn't clear what Leota is a newcomer to, there is one obvious answer. In the comics, Project Peacemaker, I'm losing my voice, secret government operation that gave birth to Christopher Smith's alter ego. Could the DCEU version of that project be the driving story of this HBO Max series? And might Leota Adiboa be recruited for that project? Answers to these questions will come in time, and more blah, 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 blah. And that's it. So some interesting information there about Peacemaker. I do think it sounds quite compelling that the father of this character originally is a racist, and this is going to damage the son, coming from a family who are not very accepting of different cultures, of different sexualities. I don't think that makes my family bad people. It's just the way it is. So obviously that mentality was in my head growing up. And it was only through watching TV and being educated for entertainment that somehow I managed to be better and have better think and thought about the world that we live in and be more embracing. So this sounds like a really interesting, important project, and I can't wait to see it. Be like Scott Edwards and send me in a question, send me in an article like this one he sent me from Screen Rant. Why the DCEU's Flash movie needs Grant Gustin's Arrowverse Barry Allen. Now, I've spoken to you about my thoughts about this before, but this is a good article, so thank you, Scott. The DCEU's The Flash film with Ezra Miller will, in one way or another, need the appearance of Grant Gustin's Arrowverse version of Barry Allen, by Andy, whose surname I can't pronounce. DCEU's The Flash movie still explore the DC multiverse on the big screen, which is why Grant Gustin's Arrowverse version of Barry Allen needs to have a presence. Earlier this year, Ezra Miller and Grant Gustin's respective versions of the Scarlet Speedster made history in Warner Bros.' massive DC live-action franchise on the big and small screen. After years of making it seem like it would never happen, the Arrowverse and the DCEU finally connected as existing in the same multiverse in the fourth part of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Gustin and Miller had a scene that was the ultimate surprise for viewers. It was everywhere. While the scene was brief, it broke a long-time barrier between the DC movie and the DC TV universe that existed since 2014, when The Flash premiered on the CW, followed by Miller's DCEU casting. Miller, who has played the fastest man alive a few times on the big screen, will soon be headlining his own movie that has been in works for over 6 years. Despite not being a straight-up adaptation, The Flash will do its own version of the Flashpoint arc, involving not just time travel, but a bit of multiverse shenanigans. That's how Michael Keaton's Batman ends up being part of the story. Miller's Arrowverse cameo had a huge significance that may have possibly set up how this movie plays out. During his scene, DCEU's Barry ended up making it clear that this was the first time he had met his own doppelganger, as well as travelled across the multiverse. Miller's Barry didn't even have the name The Flash until hearing it from Gustin's Barry, who basically gives the cinematic speedster his superhero name. The CW's version of the DC Speedster thus introduces and confirms the multiverse concept to his DCEU counterpart, who had apparently speculated on this being a possibility, while details on the feature film are being extremely kept under wraps. This will be the DCEU's biggest exploration with the multiverse. While it's unclear what DCEU's Flash was up to when he met the other Barry, it seemed like it was before meeting Keaton's Batman and getting the new suit that he'll wear. If this is the supposed timeline of the Flash movie's plot, then that is a testament to why Gustin's incarnation needs to show up. If the movie doesn't include or reference a scene in Crisis on Infinite Earths, it will. We'll talk about that in a minute. It would be a major backstep for the DCEU. Now that it is in the Arrowverse's multiverse, the event is expected to be canon, especially now that these Flashes have met one another. It's not that Gusting's Flash would need to have a huge part. There just needs to be a scene worked into the movie that includes him. Not only does this have to be seen as canon for the DCEU's Barry, but it also has to get a proper answer to how that version of Barry ended up in the Speed Force with a doppelganger version of himself. The moment in Crisis on Infinite Earths put emphasis on 3 major accomplishments for Warner Brothers and their DC properties. Not only did they manage to connect everything past and present, the future for their live-action franchises, but they managed to connect TV and film in an organic way. Absolutely agreed. But ultimately, it became a milestone for both of their versions of The Flash and highlighting what Gusting and Miller can do with their characters across the entire DC multimedia projects. More importantly, though, it began a new character arc for Miller's character that now needs to be properly serviced in his film. Even if Gusting were to only show up through that same scene, that footage is crucial to the Flash movie more than ever. It'd certainly not hurt if they perhaps have a new scene later in the film after Barry fixes his Flashpoint. But that Arrowverse, a moment with Gusting's Barry Allen, has no matter what to be in the Flash film to help the DCEU's Flash truly begin his new chapter as the big screen Scarlet Speedster. Couldn't agree more, Andy, whose last name I can't pronounce. Basically, I do foresee what Andy's saying there. I think that scene from Crisis with the 2 Barry Allens, Ezra Miller, and the fantastic Grant Gusting, that will be pre-credits when the film starts. It will be there. Because that scene in Crisis between the 2 Flashes is the origin story of Walter Hamada's and Jim Lee's multiverse strategy. It's everything what they're trying to do. And I believe that Grant Gusting will play a very huge role in this movie. I think we'll see him multiple times. I think every DC character we've ever seen in different franchises will figure in this movie. And it's like what Andy Muschietti says. You know, this film is going to take us to places the DC Extended Universe never has done before. It is a massive project. It's an exciting project. And I definitely see that sequence from Crisis being in the film and leading in to be the film for the rest of that movie. And that's going to be amazing. This is what's so exciting about this multiverse strategy. This is why we shouldn't be arguing about versions and colour palettes and HBO Max releases and cinematic releases. We should all be together getting very pumped for the future of this franchise. And finally today, Scott Edwards has a question for me. I'm such a huge DC fan and I love seeing the Justice League. Seeing any incarnation of the team on screen makes me happy. So I was absolutely overjoyed when the Arrowverse established their version of the team in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Did it make you happy? It did make me happy. It did make me happy. I still feel we got to see them properly together as the Justice League. Have they even been named the Justice League yet? I can't even remember what happened at the end of Crisis. But yeah, it does make me happy to see a team there, and it's great. But I think what the next move should be, and I've said it before, instead of just doing these crossovers like the way they've been doing them, they need to have a mini Justice League series every year on the CW. So what you do is you give all the shows a break, maybe in the summer. Or what you do is you have them all throughout the season, and then when they finish in May, then July or August or maybe June, something like that, you have a Justice League mini-series. I think that would be absolutely fantastic, and that's what I'd like to see. Say absolutely, Scott. Makes me very happy. Well, it's been a very, very long version of the DCEU Daily today where I've been very angry. What I love about me doing this and me having a YouTube channel is giving you my thoughts. And I can tell you as a movie fan, when I woke up this morning, I was angry. I didn't know what to do. I gave my opinions on Twitter as much as I could. But I can't talk to Christopher Nolan. I can't talk to these journalists at the Hollywood Reporter and throughout Hollywood who are trying to bring Warner Media's reputation down because they made a decision they didn't like. You have changed nothing, my friends. Wonder Woman 84 and the other 17 movies are going to be on HBO Max as well as theatres around the world. No matter what you say, what you do, your destabilisation attempts have failed. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.